Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie, and sometime co-host, Miss Purrington. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our monthly Comedy Wham showcase at Hops and Time in Lakeway. Our next one is Tuesday, December the 7th, and an events page for live shows in Austin and Houston. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. And we've now joined the Patreon bandwagon. Search for Comedy Wham on Patreon and check out the ways that you can support what we do at Comedy Wham. We've got some fun treats for subscribers. Oh, and you can PayPal or Venmo us too. Now let's get back to our podcast. Launched in 2016, the Podcast Project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Now Valerie takes a deep breath because she has not taken a single breath in that entire thing. Today I'm bringing back a returning guest, and I'm so excited because this is my first in-home interview since COVID, so I did it up. I got the bottle of water provided and a little box of treats, legal treats, by the way, for my guest. This is a returning guest, and she charms me so much with her expertly balanced highbrow and yet lowbrow humor. She is one of my son's favorite local comics, and I've really enjoyed watching her thrive post-pandemic. First off, she's got the launch of her own unique monthly show, High Tea at the Ballroom. She opened for Fortune Feimster in September, and I was very excited to see her at Moon Tower. She opened for Vanessa Gonzalez, who's one of our hometown heroes gone big, and national hero of comedy, Maria Bamford.
Patron saint.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And she recently headlined the Velveeta Room in October. By the way, you didn't check my schedule. I was out of town that weekend. Otherwise, I would have been there.
I'm so sorry.
She's just back from her run at the New York Comedy Festival's Tall Tales of Comedy Finals, a national competition, and that was pretty darn exciting that you were on the finals. Mm-hmm. And she just announced that she's going to San Francisco Sketch Fest with her weird improv. I'm not sure.
My sketch writing partner.
Thank you. Strong Male Leads is the name of the show. And now, if you haven't figured it out by now, please welcome back Comedy Presents our returning guest, Brett VerVoort.
Hello.
I'm Brett VerVoort. I didn't want you to think I was intentionally butchering that.
It is. It's like really hard to pronounce. It's like a mouthful of marbles, or like the sound you get when you try and start up a dead car. It's like brr. Yeah. Even typing it out on a keyboard, I get exhausted.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Brett, welcome back.
Happy to be back.
And actually, you hosted me in your home the last time.
Yes.
You made it we sat at a low table, you served tea, it was very proper.
That's me.
You walk in here, and it's a tornado of madness because I was missing a component to my usual soundboard. And I don't have all of your things ready and settled because I like to, do things nice for my guests. So...
You spoil me. I mean, really, we do comedy, so I'm usually just like rolling off somebody's bed of a stranger that I knew and like picking out like little pieces of debris from between my toes. This is quite a spread for me, so I think you do yourself a disservice.
Well, I'm very excited to talk to you again. I was listening to our first time talking, and that was back in 2018.
So much has changed.
So much has changed, and there were I typically don't do this, but I re-listened twice because it was so good.
Oh, really?
There was
that's so nice.
So much there's so many great gems. You could do so many sound clips out of that one and create like a masterclass level thing.
Ooh, okay. Well, Maybe we'll save this one too.
Yeah.
Make some money on the side.
Yeah, let's do that. Patreon. There's, we'll do
Yes,
little side
please.
clips of Brett's musings.
Yeah. Hey.
One of the cool things that was in that episode was you talking about how you love hosting people and making them feel welcome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and now she has high tea.
Yes, I do.
Which, bad on me. I've not gone to one of your shows yet, and I don't know how to describe the show.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple format. The first half is just a regular stand-up show, so I bring 3 comics on, and they'll do like 10-minute sets. And during that time, I have the audience write down questions based on the comic set or about them as people, just things that they're curious about. And then at the end, we have an audience Q&A where the audience can ask those questions. I pick them out randomly out of a box, so if you're ashamed of your question, you don't have to sign it. Although some people, weirdly, with strange questions, will sign their name, like they're proud.
Yeah.
And I'll ask the comics and kind of mediate the discussion, but it's usually a really fun time because it gets to show the comics as themselves and not just doing their standard material. And the audience usually is very into it. They love hearing their questions asked. It makes them feel like they're a part of the show, which I think is really great. Mm-hmm. And my favorite audience question of the night wins a pack of 5 CBD pre-rolled joints from a women-owned hemp farm.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So, for the low, low price of $5, you could walk away a winner. And also get some comedy and a cheap date.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah. That's nice. And is it's a monthly?
It's a once-a-month show at the Ballroom. Yeah. And what I've noticed is it's kind of cultivated this sort of date night energy, which I'm trying to lean into. Maybe I'll get some little candles or something. Because I see a lot of couples that come to the show and they grab a table and they just have a nice night together. And hey, if that's the vibe, that's the vibe. Yeah. But it's nice, though, because I get to hear my friends kind of open up and we can all joke with each other on stage. And I think people love that, being able to see people banter.
Right, yeah. So it's kind of a mix of stand-up, a little bit of improvisational conversation.
Yeah, just a little talk show at the end, very casual.
Yeah, a little Oprah.
Yeah, a little Oprah.
Minus the cars.
Well, minus the money.
Yeah. Tell me about it. No.
Talk about sound bites for her.
Yeah. Okay, so then the other thing, and this is where we're going to pick up with the really meaty part of our conversation, is you may remember I have like an opening word, like one word to describe your past, one word to describe your future.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember your words?
I don't.
Okay, that's why the technology is amazing, because I can go back and re-listen. So your past word was sorted, and your future word was promising. And we will revisit your future word if you want to change it at the end. But at the end of the last podcast that you joined me on, you promised me that on our revisit, you would tell me about your sordid past.
Oh, wow.
Now, you did say that, but I'm not going to really hold you to that. But that was kind of a fun little...
I know. Right. I mean, post-pandemic, aren't all of our paths sorted?
Right.
Or maybe it's not sorted, or it's sorted with a T. You know, it's sorted.
Yeah.
It's put away. We boxed it up.
So for anybody that doesn't know Brett, we met we interviewed in 2018, and you were about 2 years into comedy at that time. Which when I heard that, because it didn't click for me at the time. 2 years to be where you were at that time is phenomenal, especially when now I think, okay, now it's 5 years, and the things you've accomplished in 5 years is also quite phenomenal.
It's pretty
impressive.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's more surprised than me.
And then throw in a pandemic in the middle
that really stalled everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like when the pandemic happened, because it was in March is when everything started shutting down. Mm-hmm. And I remember like being very excited for Moon Tower, because I was thinking that was going to be my first Moon Tower that I was ever going to do. And just like I was starting to get booked more regularly at CAP as like a feature performer, which was such a huge step up for me. And starting for people to take me seriously as a headliner in my own right. And then the pandemic happened. And then it just felt like, such a huge step back.
Yeah.
Because you're worried, you know, so much of this business is about staying relevant. And you're like, oh my gosh, what if no one remembers who I am? My name's so hard to pronounce.
Yeah, right.
They'll just forget about me.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, let's just book someone with a 2-syllable name. Book another Sam. So I was worried about that. I was.
Was that 2020? Was that your first Moon Tower landing? Like you?
I mean, my first one was the one that this past pandemic.
Okay, because by then, don't they have already named all of their Moon Tower, like, local?
Yeah, I don't think I was named, but I think what it was is Beth Stelling was on that lineup, and she was going to be performing at CAP. And I think CAP had asked me if I would host that weekend. So I don't know if I was on the lineup, but I was still so excited to meet Beth. Yeah. And, like, I was like, oh, it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. So it was adjacent. It was Moon Tower adjacent. Yeah. And, you know, I'll count it as the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in 2018, we were talking about being invited or being assessed by CAP for hosting. So now it's like, okay, you're regularly hosting.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of hosting gigs, and before the pandemic, they had me feature for a couple people, which was awesome, because they're like, oh, okay, well, we liked what you did with 10. Can we see what you do with 20? You're like, oh, my goodness. But it was so great. It was such a great challenge for me, and just like, just such an amazing opportunity. Yeah. And because of that, you know, I got to know the Moon Tower people pretty well, and CAP helped with that a lot. And so I was able to do Moon Tower this past year. And they had me working. Yeah. I felt like an on-call doctor. I get a call in the middle of the day. What are you doing today?
You were in a lot of places.
I was in a lot of places. I'm glad I brought flats, because I was running around downtown.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I like about you is, and I called you, I said you had a mom vibe on stage, and you were okay with that. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to say, well, I view you as a consummate professional. Like, I think you're very professional about taking seriously your bookings, and I think that's reflected by Cap City bringing you back again and again, and, you know, the word gets out to the Moon Tower folks. Yeah. Is that a label that you're okay with? Because in the comedy scene, you know, there's people that are like, I don't care how people perceive me.
No, I absolutely care. Put that on the record. It's funny, though. I've kind of become this, like, Girl Friday, old reliable, where it's just like, people are like, we book you and we know that you're consistent. Mm-hmm. They're like, you're going to deliver. Yeah. And it's nice to be thought of that way. I mean, I wish it was a little sexier. I wish it was a little more flash in the pants. And they're like, wow, Brett, she got some real razzle dazzle. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, if my job is to make people laugh and I consistently deliver on that promise, I'm like, that's great. Yeah. You know, because I've gone to restaurants where one night the food is amazing and the next night you get a different chef and you're like, what is this hot garbage? Yeah. And if I'm somewhere you want to eat every day, great.
Yeah. Comfort food.
Comfort food.
With a laugh.
Yeah. You know, the trends can come and go. We can have this small cupcakes. We can have this sushi, sashimis. But, you know, I'm mac and cheese. And I'll fill you up. Yeah. And you'll see me once a year at least.
Yeah. Well, I think for anybody to have longevity in this business, which I kind of expect that that's what you're going for. Yes. And if one of these days you're going to get picked up for a writing job in LA or New York, that you kind of want that reputation.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be someone that's easy to work with and that people can rely upon and stuff like that. And also, I mean, it's a struggle to be consistent, you know? Because half the time in this business, you're like fighting your own mental illness just to just to be able to do the work so well, you know? And so I think if I can just consistently bring joy to others, that'll make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did the pandemic and the shutdown affect you?
Oh boy. Oh gosh. I think it was like a come to Jesus moment, or a reckoning, as it were, just because with the pandemic, everything shut down, all the comedy shut down. And then when everything was shut down, you realized how much psychologically you needed all these things to keep yourself busy, to distract yourself from all these things. So without those distractions, without the million things I was doing to keep myself busy, I had to really process some stuff that I hadn't processed, and grieve some stuff that I hadn't grieved. Just about like my childhood and just my identity and stuff like that. And then you kind of get to this moment where, like, literally to survive this, I have to decide that I like myself and that I'm something worth saving. And I mean, I feel like I've made that progress. I've luckily had a very supportive partner, and I got a cat, which gives me no emotional support. And I don't know what it says about my childhood, but weirdly I respond to it. But you make the decision to like yourself to survive. And I've made that choice. And I feel like, having had that experience, now that comedy's back, I feel like it's been able to help with that consistency, because like there's so many times your imposter syndrome like pops up in your head. Like I got to open for Maria Bamford, which is like my hugest idol in the world. Like there's photos on my phone. I'm smiling so big I could unhinge my jaw and eat a turkey. Like I'm smiling so big. I'm so stupid happy. Yeah. But I had to tell myself that I deserved that. And I was just as funny as everybody else. And it's so scary at a place like Moon Tower, where there's all these big names, and you're like a fan of everybody, and you're working alongside them just to be like, I'm as funny as everybody else. I deserve to be here. And it helped me with that. And I feel like I was able to do my job better because I had those tools that the pandemic gave me.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy that I've now had 2 interviews, and I don't know if it's the equipment that does this, but I interviewed Roxy, and she was the first person that I brought out all my gear for. Yeah. And her reaction during COVID was something also, you know, like self-discovery. Now that I have to stop everything, all these distractions, my calendar is a blank slate. Oh, I got to figure out that I like myself. Yeah. Or not. But I better like myself if I'm going to, you know, keep going. And yeah. The other thing that's interesting to me is, like, I'm noticing, like, the women that I've had conversation with, yes, things have been opening up, are much more, like, in tune to how the COVID served in that purpose. Whereas the guys are like, oh, you know, I tried to do this or that, or I just stopped writing, or, you know, I don't know what that says about gender, but it's interesting that the women that I've spoken to are much more introspective about what the shutdown did for them.
I mean, I'm sure the guys went through their own thing, but maybe they haven't found the way to verbalize it for themselves yet. Because I've seen some of my friends grow, and even if it's ways that they can't attest to, like if I ask them about it, they just be like, I'm just doing my thing. Yeah. I'd be like, but there is something different. Yeah. There is something different about the way you hold yourself, or the way you present yourself, or just like, or, you know, just trying something new. I've seen, like, I think Bradley Ersch wrote a whole pilot that he recently submitted to the Austin Film Festival, and I think it made it through the script, which is an awesome thing. Like, they're exploring, because people couldn't do comedy, they had all these side projects, and they're making themselves better artists. Yeah. So maybe even if they didn't channel that eye inward, and they were like, I'm just going to create things, creation is also a form of introspection. Yeah. So I think maybe it's the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Mine's just intangible.
Did you do anything at all during the pandemic that worked those creative muscles?
Well, me and my sketch writing partner, Franny, we've been working on a web series, a period piece web series, because we're both like Jane Austen fans, nerds. I host a show called High Tea.
Yeah.
I have a brand and I'm leaning in.
Yeah, good.
So it's about these two friends in this period in England, and they're from different social classes, and they go on this journey together to protect this one girl's honor because she sends a note when she's drunk. And so we have to track down this letter and save her reputation, but in the process, finding friendship all along. And it was such a fun exercise, especially because period pieces are so insanely expensive to produce.
Yeah.
But I was just like, let's just write it like we had $1 million budget. Like, let's write it like we're not trying to make it, but just to write it.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. And then there's still sections of it I'll reread when we're like having our writing meetings, and they still crack me up. It's so silly. And I've always wanted to do a British piece. I don't know why, but I've always an American interpretation of British humor. But it's so absurd and silly and physical. And yeah, that was what we worked on.
Yeah.
I also got really in shape briefly. I was working out in my closet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just like a closeted gay. I was working out and getting really swole. Just doing like hip thrusts and stuff. And then I told myself I was going to teach myself French. But I mostly just use it to speak to my cat.
Oh.
I'm still telling myself I'll teach myself French.
You could come visit us. We speak French.
Oh.
So, on peut parler avec toi?
Un peu.
Oh, that's good.
Je comprends un peu le français.
Yeah.
I've been practicing. Very little, though.
Yeah. Well, those are good. Those are good things. You know, I have to laugh at Chris Tellez's, health journey during the COVID. He's one of those people who's like, fuck you, man. You shouldn't have gotten that healthy.
Oh, yeah. I know. He's like, I cured diabetes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
just like,
pretty awesome.
I'm just one step away from Joe Rogan, just like mainlining ivermectin. He's going to tell me about how I'm getting well. And I'm like, dude, you're 40 years old. But it is crazy. It also makes me mad as a woman, just how quickly he lost weight.
Right.
And then I'm just like looking at the scale every day, and I was just like, how much soup can I eat? Makes me mad.
Yeah.
But bless. I'm so happy for him, because like, you know, we got to take care of our health, because it's not going to get any cheaper in this country.
It's not easy as you get older either.
Oh, I know. I was talking to my grandma, and she's just like, if I could tell you how many doctors told me I would be dead yesterday, Brett, you would laugh. But I'm still here. I'm like, yeah.
When did you start writing jokes again in the whole pandemic timeline?
Oh, gosh. I mean, it was after comedy slowly started coming back, and I was doing a lot of old material. I wasn't really talking about the pandemic. And I don't think a lot of people were, or there were a lot of guys that had post-pandemic jokes who were just like, so I masturbated a lot. And you're like, okay. All right.
Super creative.
Yeah, we get it. You had a lot of time on your hands and a lot of yourself on your hands. But yeah, so I didn't touch it for a while. And then with going out to comedy shows and like attending shows, I was starting to get inspired again. Like a lot of my joke ideas, I guess, come from just living my life and observing things. And because I was trapped in a house for so long, I wasn't really like living.
Yeah.
I mean, I was microdosing mushrooms, but like, ventured territory. Mm-hmm. But, so just like going to see shows, I would like hear somebody else's thought and then just have an idea and I'd write it down real quick. I've been traveling a lot the past couple months, and that alone, I feel like I have at least 10 new minutes that I didn't have before. And that's just from me going to Iowa and what's the airport like now? And like, what's St. Louis? What's going up there?
You did mention that you wanted to do more festivals when we were talking the first time, and this year you've managed to knock out quite a few.
I have.
New York City Comedy Festival with the Tall Tales, the Des Moines
The Comedy Festival. It just had its first year. They used to be Beast Village Comedy Festival, but I think they had to rebrand. And then Flyover Comedy Fest, which I had done before the pandemic, reapplied, and this was the post-pandemic one. And it was a little bit smaller, but they still had really great headliners, like Rachel Feinstein, Jeremiah Watkins, Julia Rossi, people like that. And then Moon Tower, and I'm about to do San Francisco Sketch Fest. So doing quite a few.
Do you have to balance your work life situation to be able to hit up these and all the preparation you need to do to be ready for a festival too?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of doing a festival show, at least at the level that I'm at, is most of the time they're just asking for like 7 to 10 minutes of the most part. And luckily, comedy in Austin has been keeping me really busy. So I'm getting the reps in. So in terms of that preparation, it wasn't too strenuous. It's more like just the travel plans. I used up a lot of PTO. It's all gone. Announcement for the pod, for the listeners. I did put in my 2 weeks notice of my job yesterday.
Whoa.
Because I'm honestly exhausted. Because I was I was trying to do all my work stuff and then also all my performance obligations. And so I would like work 5 days a week and then travel all weekend doing shows and then come back and then repeat. Yeah. And I was having no time to recharge. And as an introvert, I don't know how I ended up doing comedy because I'm an introvert and I'm a morning person. So somehow, so I was exhausted. So I was just like, you know what? I have a good amount of savings after the pandemic. So I'm going to just take a few months off of working, of, sucking up to the man. Yeah. I'm going to focus on me. Yeah. Focus on myself, figure out what I want to do, focus on my writing, and hopefully, keep on booking, keep on traveling. Yeah. And hopefully turn some of those into dollar signs where they pay me to come out.
Come on now. I read your credentials. You're getting paid.
I'm getting paid. I know. But I could always use more.
Yeah, right. When did you start thinking about making this big leap? Because this is a big, if you listen to enough comedy podcasts, there's always that thing, you're not ready to commit until you quit that full-time or that other job.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's a hard thing to do. I think it was like Matthew Broussard had this like Twitter joke that was about that where he's like, it's funny when people ask me like when I knew it was time to quit my job, like it was one time and not 6 or 7 times. Yeah. Because the problem is like, sure, I can make this choice now, but who knows, like, savings run out, shows get canceled, bookings fall through, and then you're like, please, sir, can I have my job back? I miss having health insurance. Yeah. So that could be a reality. But also, I'm excited to bet on myself and see if I can do it. Because I think the benefit of traveling and having done all these festivals now is me getting the sense that I'm just as capable as everybody else. I just have to make them learn who I am or let them know who I am. And then I'm out here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to imagine that when CAP reopens, you're going to be tapped on the shoulder for hosting, featuring,
Yeah. And I've already slid into their DMs.
Yeah. And it's no longer just, Cap City, the insular entity. It's now part of a helium network. So,
Yeah. So who knows? And it is such a networking type business and stuff like that. I'm to the point where I'm like, I just want to be, somebody's and friend on a show where it's like Doug Benson and friends, or like this person and friends. I was like, I would be a nameless friend. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to, do what Vanessa Gonzalez is doing and like go on tour and hang out in the private jets. God. Me on a private jet? Get out of here. But yeah, I would love to go on the road with someone. So hopefully that can happen, Captain.
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Speaking of Vanessa, we actually went to go see her at Sure Thing on Friday night. And I was looking at Instagram today, and she's posting about how she performed at the AT&T Center.
I know, those photos look insane.
Yeah, going from the small venue to the big venue, and it's like, oh man, that's amazing.
She's so talented, and she deserves every bit of success that she's gotten. Yeah. It's crazy though, because I remember when I started and like how beloved she was in this scene, and then like every single opportunity she's gotten, there's just been like so much love and support for her from Austin. Yeah, and she's killing it.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like to say that I think there's a lot of love in this scene for Brett as well. And that path, I think, can...
well, we're both pretty cute.
Yes. And professional, consummate professionals. I've always had a favorable impression of Vanessa's professionalness. So
yeah, that's our theater kid core. We have a lot of training in the back. We're like, thank you, 5, We're trained.
Yeah. Okay, so you've made this big commitment for yourself, and you're gonna be recharged to take on whatever's ahead of you. What as somebody that has been in the Austin comedy scene for 6 years
6 years come January, it'll be my anniversary.
What do you think about the Austin comedy landscape post pandemic?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was talking to my buddy about it the other day. Because, like I said, I keep talking about it, but I've been traveling. She's cosmopolitan, and everybody has questions about Austin right now. Yeah. Everybody's from other scenes are curious about what's going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the landscape is changing. It's growing. There's a lot of talk about Austin. People are excited about the scene. And for those of us who started in the scene, it was always great in our eyes, But now there's more of a national focus on the comedy that's coming out here. So we're getting a lot of new people into the scene. And it's a numbers game, right? There's more new people, so statistically, there's more new people who suck. Yeah. And that's just odds. That's statistics.
It's math. And
that's just math. Yeah. And comedy, if nothing else, is sort of a meritocracy where I think, like, ultimately you can't survive in the business if you're not funny and not bookable, or not decent to work with or a good hang.
Yeah.
So some of those people might naturally fizzle out, and some of those people might stick around, might get better, might get to know some of the old scene, and hopefully, we can come to some sort of mutual respect. But it still feels like, and I think it's because comics are mentally stunted at the age of 15, and that I speak to myself as well, but it's become a little bit of a pissing contest right now, where it's like, who can piss hardest and furthest, and it's ridiculous. But I hope we can kind of come together.
Yeah, I mean, my observation is it definitely feels like there's the pre-COVID royalty of comedy, and now with COVID and with so many venues opening up and so many people like saying, I'm going to do comedy, and that started last summer. And them thinking that because everybody else was playing it safe, they're out of the game. So we are now comedy royalty. And it's like, no, that's still comedy royalty. And these are still people that had been, at these high levels of performance. They just made decisions to be safe.
Yeah. I mean, like, one of these people, like Mac Blake, who's such a big name in Austin, like, I'll see him on a show every once in a while, but you don't think Mac could go into hibernation for 9 months and then come out and still be funnier off the cuff than some of these people that have been working 9 months.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, that stuff doesn't fade. So it is scary because it's just like I was saying, like, you're worried you won't be relevant anymore. But if you're funny, they'll book you.
Yeah. Yeah. And not that I'm, a workhorse as far as producing comedy shows, but now that I do book my own show, I know who my go-tos are for, being reliably funny, not being dicks, and, being good people to have around at your show. And, I'm still kind of testing the waters. Like, one of the missions that I have when 2022 starts is starting to interview some of these newer names, because maybe I have this bias against them and I need to kind of get over and not make it there's the pre-COVID people and they still rule, and I'm not going to pay attention to any of these new people.
Yeah. There's always something to learn, and like, some of these shows that the other people are producing, they are well attended and they are very popular and stuff like that. And they have cultivated an audience for themselves. So maybe there is something there, maybe there is some juice worth the squeeze. But to saying that you have nothing to learn from them, and I think is probably doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. Which is why I hope we can come together. But it does feel like each one of them thinks that they can't exist in the same environment at the same time. Like, this town ain't big enough for the two of us. And it really isn't that way. Like, we can coexist, but not to make a coexist bumper sticker joke. But there are ways to do that. But I think it feels very much like people are telling you, pick a side. But there are some people that I have not seen before that I've started seeing on shows. I'm like, they're funny. They got something to say. Yeah. And I've tried to bring some of those people onto high tea. Like, if I see someone at Buzzmill, I was like, I don't know who this person is. And they're like, oh, I just moved here from like Oklahoma. I'm like, oh, cool. And so, in that way, it's keeping the scene alive. It's keeping us stronger, Austin has always had like a bunch of very unique voices. I wouldn't say like Austin had a style. If you asked me to ask, what's Austin's style of comedy? I don't think it has a style. It's the sum of its parts. And so these people are just adding to it. Yeah, it's I'm sure LA and New York are the same. There's a wider flavors. It's not like 31 flavors of ice cream anymore. Now it's like there's even more flavors of ice cream because we're a bigger city. Yeah. Even outside of just the fact that we're a growing comedy scene, we are a bigger city. And so... Yeah. And any change is always painful. Yeah. Change is always painful. Yes. It's like when you're little and you remember that feeling of just like you'd go to bed at night and you could feel your bones grow. It feels like that. Yeah. But in the back of your mind all the time. You're like, oh, God, I'm so uncomfortable at this bar right now. You're like, oh, my bones are growing. Yeah. That's what it feels like. You have a tattoo of egg. Yes. How is the troupe doing? Well, I mean, we're still all in touch. We still have a group chat going. But it's funny because, so Robin moved back to their hometown. I believe it's Cincinnati. Ooh, but I'm not sure it is. It's a C. It's near. I might be Columbus. Columbus. Yeah, I think it was started with a C. Yeah. Moved back to Ohio. But I reached out to them on Instagram and stuff, and then we've all kind of scattered to do our own projects, but like each of us is still writing, so sometimes we'll still share our writing with each other and still keep in touch. We have done some improv together post-pandemic, and it's been so fun. It's always insane. It's always like the craziest thing of my week, but they're still some of the funniest weirdos I know, and I love them to death.
Improv was a big part of like your time in 2018 when we were talking.
Yeah.
Is it more off kilter as far as stand-up is really where you're spending?
Yeah, I think stand-up is more where my heart is. Maybe it's my ego. I don't know. I just love to hear myself talk. No, but I think improv is just one of those things. Like when it's good, it's great, but when it's bad, it's awful. Yeah. And also, it's just like hard coordinating schedules and stuff. So from just like a pure ease standpoint, it's like I can't always make sure everybody else is being safe, but I can at least make sure I am.
Yeah.
So I haven't been doing as much improv, but it still brings me joy. I still like watching great improv when it happens.
Yeah. The festivals that you've gone to, have you been able to catch any improv?
I've been able to catch some improv, but it's, oh my gosh. But improv people make the worst stand-up audience. I was doing this show in St. Louis, and it was Jeremiah Watkins was the headliner, and there was this old guy in the front, and everybody was kind of like making jokes. All the openers were like making little jokes with him, and he was fun, and it was kind of cute at first. You're like, oh, we like this guy. He's silly.
Yeah.
But then Jeremiah goes up, headliner, respect. You know, you listen. But this guy always had something to say. God. And he would talk and respond to every joke as if it was an initiation for a scene, but it was not. And you think he'd be done, but they had always one more thing to say. And I would love to say that maybe a producer or someone took him out, but nobody did. So for 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
It was so strange. And I mean, Jeremiah was such a professional the whole time that he was like, how to end this weird show. He's like, what if this was my dad the whole time? And I just didn't tell you.
He's so good at crowd work, and I have seen Jeremiah perform so many times. He's so
because
good
he was
at
at Moon Tower.
Yeah.
And I told him afterwards, I was like, what? I was like, I remember seeing you at Moon Tower, and it was that show at Creek in the Cave. I don't know if you were there.
I don't think so.
But he went up first, and the mic went out.
Oh, God.
And so he does this whole, like, British actor character. And he goes, who needs a microphone when you can project? And, like, instead of doing a stand-up set, just kind of riffed with it until the mic situation was sorted out and took that bullet for everybody else. But it's funny because, like, I was like, the 2 times I've seen you.
Something has happened.
Something has happened. But you've handled yourself so well. I couldn't tell anybody what your set is.
Yeah.
But I could tell them you're in for a treat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love Jeremiah. We both do. We've traveled to go see him perform, and I have him on my Moon Tower Comedy Wham episodes.
Yeah.
And, as his star has risen, I get less and less time, and that's our running joke now. It's like, I'm gonna have to give you less time, but I'm still gonna talk to you every
Yeah, I know. He's like the voice of one of those animated Joker series.
Yeah. That's
so like
news.
People get Oscars for that now. It's so crazy to me. Can I just tell you that it is so crazy to me how the Joker has become the new Hamlet. Like everybody thinks they have to show me their Joker. And it's just like, oh, who's next? Mel Gibson. We got to see Mel Gibson's Joker. It's wild. It's just like boys just wanting to show you how crazy they can be. It's just like, oh God.
Okay, Brett. Okay. If you had to be an animated voice for a character, Hamlet's off the table, but
they're not doing a Hamlet animated series.
Not anytime soon. But they did do Hamilton, and that kind of got big. So maybe. Who would you want to voice as an animated character?
Ooh. It's an animated character. Well, I mean, you read me for like a mom character. So I was like, I could play like a mom on any of those like sitcom-y type shows. Like I could do a character on F is for Family probably. Gosh. don't know, maybe like a Batgirl vibe. I could do that. Probably pretty technical, savvy.
Yeah.
You know, cheeky.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that. Wears glasses. What else can I say?
You are still to this day the only comic that I know that has a superb mythology joke. So,
thank you.
I mean,
I did that at a college recently, and they're like, "Oh my god, yes." But then I made a joke about like missing kids on milk cartons, and they were like,
yeah, they wouldn't quite get that.
I know, and I'm like, I'm not that old, but I remember owning cassettes. I remember having cassette tapes. I was telling this joke where I was like, I remember cutting in front of George Bush Sr. to rent a VHS copy of Rock-a-Doodle from a Blockbuster video, which is a sentence that can't exist anymore.
No.
There's too many points of cultural reference in that joke that just don't work, don't translate.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I'm going to wait till you take that. That's a good retirement home joke.
Yeah.
They'd get it.
Well, that's my target demographic anyway. I was like, some people are out here trying to be like, the man's man comic. I'm out here trying to be the grand mam's comic. I'm out here for the G-Ma's and the P-Paws. That's my crowd. Brittle bones, all of them.
Yep. Do you see yourself leaving Austin and going to a city that has like big time writing jobs or acting jobs?
Sadly, I mean, bittersweetly, I do, only because even though Austin is growing and we are getting more eyes on us, it's still, you go where the opportunities are. Mm-hmm. And until they start like producing a lot of those shows here, the jobs are always going to be elsewhere. But hopefully we get back to the point, or Texas creates more film incentives for them to do that. But I think so. And hopefully I can, still have Austin with me.
Yeah. I was actually heartened when I saw Vanessa at Sure Thing this Friday night. And one of the things that I was heartened to hear, because she had moved to L.A., and I knew she had come back to spend time with her family, but I had assumed, since she got picked up for this big, touring gig, that she had gone back to L.A. And I was really happy to hear that she has stayed here, that like this is home for her. And I'm like, that's great, because when you reach a certain level, like if you're touring, then you can have a home base wherever you want. Yeah.
I mean, there are nationally touring comics that are moving here, like, Joe Rogan, for the example. And I don't know if Tom Segura has moved here, or they just set up their podcast studio here.
I thought they had both moved.
I thought they had both moved, too. So, and I know David Bory just moved back to Colorado, back to Denver, and he was out of LA for a while. And he's the voice of Comedy Central, for heaven's sakes. But, yeah. But I'm still in the grind part of my career, where I don't have that leverage to be like, the money will come to me. Yeah, right. So right now, I am still in the pursuit position of wherever that money goes. And right now, that's taking me coast to coast.
Mm-hmm. But you're smart about it, because you're right. Getting to those festivals gets eyes on you. And that San Francisco Sketch Fest is huge.
It's huge, and so it might be one of those cases where I go, and then, like, you're buried by so many other things. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But I'm reaching out to some theaters in LA, so maybe I can take our show there as well. Because, I like people to see me.
Yeah.
Because I think I have something to offer or contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the model that Joey Z has just implemented with he's taking Glow Show on the road. I mean,
which is so smart, and he has such a strong brand. Mm-hmm. High tea,
yes.
So high tea is such a ladylike thing. But, you know, wherever I go, I'll just bring like a little Nanny McPhee bag or something. All my tricks in this little duffel.
I think that is the first recorded Nanny McPhee reference on Comedy Wham Presents.
What can I say? There's a little bit of something in me for everybody. Yeah. You're like, is she 5 years old or 55 years old? I'll never tell.
A lady never tells.
A lady never tells. I have a very intensive moisturizing routine.
That's so important.
It's so important. You don't know how many times I've gotten drunk at a bar and just like yelled at the men for be like, you gotta lotion right after you shower. You gotta lock it in. I don't know. These guys just season themselves like a cast iron skillet and just like blast themselves with rock salt. I'm so so sorry.
It's okay. I feel like I've just done the wind-up toy and just let you.
Oh, yeah, just let me babble. And I'm just like, oh, they lose weight so fast and and their skin is perfect without any effort.
Yeah. And that's just not fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Real talk.
Real talk.
I know that the getting to open with for Maria Bamford was like a big fucking deal for you.
Yes.
How did you feel after that experience?
It was so weird because I had to immediately run to another show. I feel like I didn't get the time to savor it that I would have liked. But after my set, we had a brief like run in the green room. And she said, you're very good with words. And I was like, oh my God, Maria, that's like 80% of what I do. I talk. And it was such a her thing to say. And I say this as a huge fan.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I was like, Maria Bamford said I'm good with words. I was like, you can't tell me anything. Mm-mm. I was like, I could bomb the rest of the shows this weekend. I was like, comedy could even not work out. And I will have opened for Maria Bamford, and she said I'm good with words. Like, it meant so much that it became like a suit of armor.
Yeah.
And the rest of the fest just went by as a blur because I was just like, I'm good with words. You know, where you'll just say something to someone, and then years later they'll be like, it changed my life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I'll do is I'm going to find her one day. I'm going to find her. I'll track her. And I'm going to be like, you said I was good with words. She'll be like, I don't know you. But yeah, it meant so much to me. And everybody on that show who I met, Aaron Foley and everybody, Fortune Feemster. Such a great weekend.
Yeah. Have you given thought to recording an album?
I have. I don't think I have a full hour as of yet. I could do a little EP.
Yeah.
Which might be cute. You know, it's like me, very petite. Just do a little 45 record.
Yeah.
But I have thought about it. It is one way to get myself out there. It's funny, though, because it's just like, as I've moved up and I have achieved a certain level of success, I still kind of in my own head view myself as very much a comics comic. Like, the people who know me like me, but a lot of people don't know me. Mm. So I could produce the record, but I feel like it would be at great personal expense. And a lot of people might not buy it. And maybe that's me looking down on myself as a way. But, you know, I just, I'm old reliable. I'm not the sexy boom, boom, ow, ow brand that I need to be to,
I know, but when somebody wants that, nice comfort blanket and they know, okay, old reliable here, not a pun about your age,
no,
but reliable here, I can, put the vinyl on the turntable and listen to Brett. And
I have thought about it. I mean, I've also thought about maybe getting back into the podcast game. If there's even still any room, because there's always there's so many. But yeah, I'd like to record an album, but I think I'm still a ways away because I'd like to have a full hour, and I'd like to at least be nominated for funniest person in Austin on the Austin Chronicle.
Yeah.
a nomination.
Okay. To my listeners, all
Yeah.
tens of you,
Please write in.
please write in.
Just write that in. How it's spelled how it sounds.
Like Joey Z, you could just do Brett V.
I know, or Christina P.
Yeah.
No, there's like a poem, and it's like, give your daughters complicated names, because men should struggle with like how to pronounce them or how to understand them. And I don't think I'll change my name because I think of it as a sign of respect if they get it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I simplify it for them in my own brain, I feel like I'm psychologically making myself smaller for their comfort. And I don't want you to be comfortable.
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't change your name.
Don't change your name.
Yeah.
If you have a beautiful, if you're a girl and you have a beautiful ethnic name, please, that's your brand.
Yeah.
Don't change it. For the longest time, I hated having the name Brett because it was so gender confusing. But now I've really embraced it. And I even do like marketing with myself in beards.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just like make other people uncomfortable. Make them accept you how you want them to accept you.
Right.
Not in a way that's easier for them.
Yeah. Oh, we got deep again.
I know. Sorry.
No, why?
I don't know.
Why did you just apologize?
It's the way the Matrix raised me.
No. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? You ready to dig into that sordid past yet? No. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh gosh. Well, then we're gonna
No.
get deep again,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna be like, huh? Oh my god. I don't know. Was there anything we didn't cover? Improv, sketch, future.
Oh, how was
past?
your Velveeta room headlining?
It was fun. I had a blast. I mean, Velveeta crowds are so interesting because sometimes they're great and then sometimes they're drunk.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're great drunks,
Yeah.
but that's rare. But it's funny because I had some old friends come that hadn't seen me do comedy in a while, and they were able to see my growth and like all the different things I'm doing. And that was really great to be able to hear them talk about it. And my one friend, who has a smile like sunshine, you know who you are. She was saying, she was just like, it's so funny because I want to go back and re-listen to the jokes because you had so many small little details and one-liners in your jokes that I feel like I could re-listen to it over and over again and get something different.
Huh.
Which I think was a really nice note to hear. A lot of guys, I think they thought they saw Brett on the title and they came in. There was one night where it was like all dudes in the front row, and then they put their grubby little feet on my stage. They propped their little feet on my stage. I wanted to kick it off, but I didn't because I'm a lady. But it's funny though because I don't think of myself as like a boys comic, but the guys loved it. Huh. They were great.
Yeah.
They came up to me afterwards. They were like, we had a great time. You were really funny. One guy was like, you remind me a lot of Tim Dillon.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like,
wow.
He's an amazing stand-up
Yeah.
comic if you've ever seen him. I was like, well, we don't agree politically, but... And I've literally never gotten that before, but thank you. Thank you so much. Because he is really funny.
But isn't he more of like a wild, crazy persona on stage?
He's big. He's
Yeah.
like Chris Farley level energy, big on stage.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny to think of myself that way because like I said, I'm very petite. You could just throw me in a satchel, throw me over your shoulder like a little stone. But it's funny to think of myself as big on stage because I want to be big on stage.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on stage, you want to own the stage. You want to be that big personality.
Right.
So I'm ready to make myself big. I'm ready to be big. I'm ready to move, be big time. I'm ready for everybody to say, wow, Brett, success has really changed you. And I'm like, I've been famous in my head for years. I was waiting for everybody to catch up.
I like that your ambition is that you want people to say success has really changed.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna start posting all those quotes Ty Wynn has on his wall where it's just like, if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong. You're like, wow, Brett's really changed.
Do you want haters?
Please no.
Okay.
But also, I think, at least, like I was saying, like, I think I'm comfortable with haters.
Yeah.
Like, because usually when you have haters, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if someone doesn't like my jokes or they don't like my success, it's probably something to do with them and their situation. Mm-hmm. And also, like I said, I just quit my job in customer service. I was like, literally, you could like spit on my eyeball and call me scum. And I'd be like, is there anything else I can help you with today? I'm comfortable with haters.
All right. Well, Comedy Wham puts this fine line, or puts their foot down and says, do not hate Brett. If I hear of any haters towards Brett, then we will be reprimanding them sternly.
I got some very tall platform boots, and I will stomp your butt.
Very good. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I think I'm good with everything I've learned about you today.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and in your first show back in your home.
I know. Yay. Now if I could just find all the plugs that I need for all of my equipment.
Yeah, Miss Purrington told me that she ate them.
God damn it. Does not surprise me. She's actually been very polite during this. So, as I mentioned, I usually do the one word past, one word future. Do you have an updated word to describe your future?
Does it have to be one word? I'm going to make it a word, but I'm going to make it a hyphen. Big time!
That works. I can accept that. There's no police. There's no one-word police.
Oh, thank God. Another tax bracket, not doing their jobs.
Oh, God. Yes. Oh, that could be a whole other hour conversation.
Yeah. Don't hate Brett, especially if you're not the police.
Yeah.
Because I am not driving with plates.
Well, do I have to edit that out?
Come at me, fool.
Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents Brett VerVoort. Tell us where we can find you on social media and promote.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Grandma's Lil Shit. That's Lil shit. Grandma's Lil Shit. And then I have a special show this Friday after Thanksgiving. We're doing a special post-holiday drunk spelling bee called Blackout Friday. It's going to be a really fun show. We have Kat Ramzinski, who is also on the New York Comedy Festival and won another Austin legend. Justin Hicks, Yola Lou, Mason Pitluck. It's going to be a good time. And please, you don't want to be stuck home with your family. Come out, come drink with us.
And high tea?
And high tea, which is going to be the third Monday of every month at the Ballroom. And yeah, play, win, get some CBD pre-rolls. And I might have a line soon on some psilocybin tea. Please don't be cops listening to this. But I'll take care of you.
Awesome. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Brett got to be the comedic genius that you heard today, just as much as I have. This has been Comedy Wham presents Brett. God bless. This has been Comedy Wham presents Brett VerVoort.
Yes.
I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.